Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and I'm sure as you saw by the title today, we're talking about a game that I've mentioned on my channel before, and it's a game that I'm kind of excited for. Bleeding Edge. If you didn't know, Bleeding Edge is a multiplayer online combat video game being developed by British developer Ninja Theory, and it's published by Xbox Game Studios and exclusively for the Xbox One and Windows 10. The game is kind of like a Overwatch or Battleborn type of game, except it's from third-person perspective. And instead of relying on distance combat like shooting guns or other projectiles, this game focuses heavily on melee attacks, which seems to be an ongoing thing this year. It's kinda odd. The game has a 12-character main roster to choose from. Even though most of the game is combat-based, some of these characters will have range attacks. It'll also display 3 bars for different abilities, which go down when the player uses any one of their abilities. Each ability also has its own cooldown period as well. All of these characters fall into specific classes, to be specific, one of 3 classes, with them being damage, support, and tank, which is kind of the norm for these MOBA type games, or TBMOFS type games. You pick. But this game is considered a team-based brawler, with just many similar features of a MOBA game. Creative director for Bleeding Edge, Ronnie Tucker, said that the game feels more like a MOBA type game, and the reason for this is that the game initially started off that way, until they began developing the game further and realized the game benefited better as a third-person team-based brawler. Last month, the game held a closed beta, which I missed, weep weep. But as far as what I'm hearing, the game has a lot of mixed reviews, with people either saying it's addictive, it's fun, it's a blast, or people criticizing that it wasn't enough stuff in the game, and that it felt kind of generic or it felt empty. So in this video, I'm going to go into depth, well, not too into depth, just kind of what I've seen so far and kind of what I've heard about the game. And, you know, if the game has a chance at actually being a good game at release day or post-release day. So if you're interested in that, then proceed into checking out these details within the video. So first off, let me start off with the flaws that people are saying this game has. A lot of fans are saying that the game feels really empty, and that's not because the maps are poorly designed. Rather, they're just too big for its current style of game. The game is a 4v4 style type game, so you would think that would be big enough for, you know, the maps. But the characters are supposedly smaller than that of Overwatch or Battleborn. And it doesn't have the first-person view to kind of push the environments in your face, like those games do. Plus, it would kind of help if the environments were sort of pushed closer together to kind of give you that feel of immersion. But sadly, it's not. Another one of Bleeding Edge's flaws is it also struggles with its camera angles. Since the game is heavily focused on combat, you would assume they would have already had this mapped out, but it kind of doesn't. There's supposedly a lock-on action that you have in the game to help keep better track of opponents, but with opponents jumping up and down in your face, and when you're getting pounded on by a bunch of enemies at once, I heard it's kind of difficult to keep track of that. So that's kind of something they need to fix in the future, hopefully. Along with that, the game is supposed to differentiate itself from other MOBA type games by being heavily melee based, but a lot of people are saying that it feels similar to those games, just with a lot less stuff to do. It's team based, but they haven't been able to display that in a coherent way so far. Teamwork doesn't really feel like a priority in this game, is what I'm hearing, and that's probably because the healers didn't really give off a good impression so far in the beta. Not really in terms of playability, but more of just not really being a central part of any of the game modes thus far. And what I mean by that is the game hasn't found a way to yet push out what teamwork means. A lot of people were saying in the betas that people were just going for damage types and tanks, and a lot of them avoided the healer. This can really make the game messy, I feel, considering everyone would just be bashing each other, and it would be no real strategy to the game. And this is probably the reason I'm seeing a lot of fans saying that the game is half-assed, and some people are saying that the game lacks versatility that you normally see in a game like this, despite it being heavily combat-based. Now, let's talk about the pros of this game so far. First of all, I'd say the characters in this game are unique, and each and every one of them have their own style in both fighting and background. Each character's backstory is similar to each other in the sense that each of the fighters you play have some kind of tragedy that they each experienced, and each had to receive augments for those tragedies, which I think is cool that they have all the stories kind of linked up in a way. Supposedly all these characters are brought together by a ninja who wants to take revenge for his mother's death, and to do that he recruits these augmented badass fighters. I think they do a really good job from differentiating its characters from games like Overwatch or something like Paladins in its own way. The designs of these characters are vivid and they just look badass. I feel like Team Ninja really nailed it in this aspect, and it's definitely one of the reasons that will make you want to play this game. As far as the fighting goes, I think the game really does a good job of diversifying the genre in its way of being a melee-based combat. Having to fight up close with opponents gives me sort of a Ninja Gaiden feel. That's what it kind of looks like. It's what I'm seeing. For some reason, it just looks so fluid and fast-paced. Also, seeing the characters get staggered when you strike them is really giving me a good vibe and feeling about this game. I just find it satisfying knowing someone's going to get jacked back when I hit them. And even though the game is a melee-based, I feel like they've done a good job with giving a variety of melee attacks for each person. Each character looks like they have his or her own touch on them, so that's definitely a plus for this game. I also heard the soundtrack is really good, and that's probably thanks to David Garcia. That doesn't really come as a surprise to me, considering he did a great job on the Hellblade soundtrack. Also, I think this game has a lot of potential to do something amazing, especially with it being an Xbox exclusive. I think it can definitely help Xbox's sales a little bit. But I think one of its main perks is going to be the game's design. I feel it really gives off a great feel to it. And I mean, just looking at the game cover itself gives me vibes. I think they could use this to their advantage with all the cosmetics they put out in the game store. And I think they can really, if they really push for it and they do a really good job with its versatility, I think they can compete with some of the best games in its genre, in that department, of course. But there's definitely a lot to be worked on. From what I've seen in the beta, so far the game doesn't have enough depth to it. And I know they only gave us 2 maps and 11 characters, but even with the full package version, I doubt they'll include that much more. I really see this game starting off pretty slow, with a little criticism, but I think it can work its way up to be something really special, given the time. If they add more versatile game modes with something like King of the Hill, which I think would be essentially a great mode, it'd be like an all-out brawler feast, and that sounds really fun. I think a lot of fans would like that. Or maybe they could do something like Capture the Flag. I'm basically saying Halo's game modes, but just something that'll give people, something that'll add replayability to it. Now, I don't know if they have a PvE mode planned, but that would definitely be something they have to add in the future, because I think that would really help out the teamwork aspect of this game, especially if they make the PvE mode, pretty tough, and fans actually struggle with it. Then I think it'll definitely kind of help out this whole game's versatility, because I feel like they would have to they'd have to use strategy to beat these PvE AI bots, and I think it's also just fun to add in the game. They can add various modes. They can add modes where it's just duos, or they can also add like a single player mode to PvE. I feel like that would really bring the game to another level. And I don't think they have to add a story mode to this game. I've seen a lot of fans saying that the game should have a story mode. It'll make it fuller, maybe. That's what they were saying about here and there. But I just think the game needs to focus on what the game is, and the game's a multiplayer. So they should just add other multiplayer components to complete the game, make it fuller, and make it more exciting, essentially. Like maybe even having a 6v6 mode and shortening the maps. I feel there's a lot of ways they could branch out and expand. And I really have faith in this game because I really like Ninja Theory. And I liked what they had to overcome. And I just like the passion they show for making games, specifically interesting games. I don't think this one is any different. As you can see, the characters' backstories are pretty interesting. And you can see the passion in this game. But that's just my opinion. I'm really looking forward to this game, especially since I missed the previous beta. However, I will be given another chance to experience it on the 13th to the 16th, and I think hopefully by then they'll have some things cleaned up and a little more things added. Also, some people did complain about the combat being a little too slow in the previous beta, so hopefully they've taken a little step forward and fixed those minor issues. But I guess I won't know till I play the last beta on the 13th. Also, the game will fully release on Game Pass on the 24th of March, so definitely write that down in your schedule, my fellow Xboxers. But if you guys have an idea on what you think this game will turn out to be, then please comment below your opinions, because I would love to hear them. Also, if you guys enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe, because there's still so many games this month to cover, like Half-Life Alyx, or Doom Eternal, or maybe even Animal Crossing, if you fancy it. Anyway, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Till next time.